Hello and welcome to The Wandering Clinician. I am JP de Oliveira Estevao, licensed professional clinical counselor. This podcast is where we get real about mental health. No fluff, no sugarcoating, just honest conversations, practical insights, and a little wit to help you navigate the messy, beautiful complexity of being human. If you find value here, do me a favor, subscribe, like, and share this podcast. It not only helps us grow, but it also helps spread the message that mental health matters, and it belongs at the center of our everyday lives. Now let us dive in. Listen, I am not here to shame your inner teenager who decided that the best way to survive middle school was to become emotionally numb, funny, and weirdly obsessed with checking the oven 6 times before leaving the house. I get it. Honestly, I do. I had my dazzling buffet of maladaptive coping mechanisms. Anxiety, I named it and gave it a Google Calendar. Perfectionism, oh honey, that was my emotional skincare routine, tight, unforgiving, and always one mistake away from a breakdown. Here's the thing. What once protected you can become the very thing that suffocates you. That metaphorical armor, it starts rusting. And before you know it, you are clanking around in your adult life, trying to navigate relationships, work, and existential crises in a suit of psychological medieval cosplay that no longer fits. Your back hurts. Your joy is muffled. You are emotionally constipated, but still oddly polite about it. Let me take you back. There was a time in my life when I believed the highest form of strength was self-reliance. I did not just put walls up. I installed barbed wire, a moat, and emotionally distant gargoyles to guard my soft, squishy parts. It made sense then. Trusting others had not gone so well. Vulnerability was a liability. Asking for help was a weakness that often led to disappointment. So I coped. I turned pain into productivity, sadness into sarcasm, and connection into performance. I smiled with my teeth clenched. I became efficient at detaching from my feelings, like they were suspicious luggage at an airport. My therapist once said, "You dissociate like it is your side hustle." I took it as a compliment until I realized she was trying to help me stop doing it. Now here you are, maybe not unlike me, carrying coping mechanisms that were forged in necessity, but now hum with quiet misery. You might still shrink yourself to keep the peace, still ghost your own emotions when they get too loud. Think that if you stay busy enough, the grief will not find you. But let me ask you this, and I want you to answer honestly, even if it is just in your head. Is it still working? Because what once was adaptive becomes maladaptive the moment you no longer need it but still use it, like wearing a winter coat in July because it once saved you from frostbite. You are not being dramatic, you are overheating, and eventually no one wants to hug you because you are prickly and sweat-covered and yelling about wind chill and a heat wave. The moment I realized my armor was hurting me was subtle but piercing. I was sitting across from a friend, someone I liked, someone who asked real questions and seemed to care about my answer, and I made a joke instead of telling the truth. Again, it was a good joke, got a laugh, but afterward, I felt hollow, like I had passed up a moment of connection in favor of staying safe. I had built a fortress, but now I was the only one inside. You do that enough times, and you start to wonder if anyone knows you, or if they know your curated personality, the helpful one, the funny one, the overfunctioning one, who always brings snacks and never needs anything. It is wild how the very things that once kept us afloat can start dragging us under. Avoidance turns into isolation. Control turns into anxiety. Numbing turns into a life half-lived. You wake up and realize you have built a personality around not needing what every human being fundamentally requires: safety, connection, rest. Now, I am not saying you should write a farewell letter to your coping mechanisms and set them on fire in a ritualistic ceremony with incense and crystals. I mean, you could, and I support your theatrical flair, but what I am suggesting is something quieter and harder. Grieve them. Yes. Mourn the version of you that needed them. Thank the perfectionism for protecting you from shame. Acknowledge how dissociation gave you peace when chaos reigned. Honor the silence that shielded you from louder pain. But then, sweet one, gently ask them to step aside. It is terrifying. Letting go of a coping mechanism feels like removing your only flotation device in the middle of the ocean. You want to trust that you can float now, but what if you sink? What if you are wrong? You will not, or you will, but you will surface again. That is the thing no one tells you about healing. It is not linear, it is not tidy, and it rarely comes with a user manual. But it does come with space. And in that space, you will find a version of yourself who no longer has to hide behind productivity, or anger, or humor, or people-pleasing. You can still laugh, you can still hustle, you can still be high-functioning. But now, you can choose it, not because your trauma said so, but because your healing did. So what do you do when your old ways stop working? You pause, you listen, you notice what aches, and then you ask yourself a better question: who am I without this? That question is not a void, it is an opening. And I promise you, whatever comes next, whatever brave, soft, new way you learn to be, it will be worth it. Even if you miss your old armor sometimes, even if you reach for the numbness out of habit, even if you fumble through your first few vulnerable conversations, like a baby deer learning to walk on an emotional slip and slide. That is okay. Growth is awkward. Healing is messy. But staying stuck in suffering disguised as just the way I am, that is not noble. That is just outdated programming. You deserve an upgrade. And do not worry, I will be over here, also crying into my journal, also unlearning my nonsense, also trying not to make everything into a punchline. We are all just trying. But some of us are finally doing it without the armor. And that, my friend, is what real courage looks like. Thanks for wandering with me today, whether you're on a walk, in your car, or hiding from your to-do list under a weighted blanket. I'm grateful you chose to spend this time with me. If something in this episode resonated, challenged you, or just made you feel a little less alone, I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, check out my book, A Boy Called JP, available now on Amazon. It's my story, raw, reflective, sometimes a bit ridiculous, but always rooted in the belief that healing is possible and that your story matters. If you like today's episode, please rate, review, share it with a fellow wanderer, or whisper 5 stars to the sky. That works too. Until next time, take care of your mind, honor your heart, and keep wandering with intention.